Hello everyone, my name's Cliff and welcome back to my channel. This is Cliff's Dark Gems. And if you're new here, sit, relax and enjoy the video. As tonight we're doing Horror Mayhem, TBR and also some recommendations. So stay tuned. Okay, before we get into my TBR for Horror Mayhem and the recommendations, yeah, there's a book club, our book club, and that is Crits and myself. And we're doing Fright Club. And our read for May is going to be My Life as a White Trash Zombie. Now, look at that cover. I don't know the author, sorry. Just put the cover up there. Got it on Kindle. And yeah, it's going to be a fun ride. And we're also doing this because Kat from Kat's Novel Adventures is hosting Zombiethon, and this is for Crits, and she's also going to take part. We can have a live chat when we finish reading this book. So yeah, that's another readathon I'm taking part in. And then second of all, I'm going to be doing a buddy read with my friend Matt from Creativity is Therapy. So yeah, so those two books. And then I'm not going to say anything about Old School April until the end of the month, because I'm going to do a full thing about that then. I'm still busy reading a book, quite long, so I'll talk about that more at the end of the month. Okay everyone, so in this video I'm going to be going from the classic era, starting in the 1840s, and then I'm going to be skipping quite a lot until I get to about the 1950s, 60s. And even though some of these stories I did not mention in the announcement video I made, just consider it kind of additional recommendations. And I'm going to be throwing out other stuff as well, of what you can read for different decades. Now let's start off with Poe. Now to talk about Poe, and here's my Edgar Allan Poe, The Fall of House of Usher and Other Writings, very humble copy. It's a Penguin classic. Yeah. Biggest compy choosers. I'd love to have kind of a beautiful edition of Edgar Allan Poe, but I don't have it. And I'm looking at reading a couple of stories here. Stuff that I haven't read before. Maybe like some poems. There's a couple of poems. A City in the Sea and The Valley of Unrest. And then a tale that I haven't actually read yet. That was The Man That Was Used Up. Let's see if there's anything else here. Oh, and Hop Frog. Definitely want to read Hop Frog. And the way I got these stories is not just because they're in this book, it's because I looked up on the internet, I looked for like a kind of top 10s, top 20s, best Poe stories. And I'm doing that for a lot of these books. Just help me choose which short stories I'm going to read for Horror Mayhem. And I'm not going to talk at length about each story because there's too many of them. So yeah, that's Edgar Allan Poe. Okay, next we shoot forward to 1906, and that's Algernon Blackwood. Now, I absolutely love Algernon Blackwood. I think The Willows was the one I really enjoyed. And there's a story in here, in Great Tales of the Supernatural, but beat up. But there's a story in here called Keeping His Promise. They caught my attention. And of course, I might, for each of these I might kind of explore maybe some other stories, but these ones I'm definitely going to read in May. So yeah, Algernon Blackwood, Keeping His Promise. Okay, next up H.P. Lovecraft, and he mainly, his best stuff is from the 1920s and 30s, and yeah, he's got a huge body of work, and I've got the complete collection on Kindle. So I once again went and looked at top 10 lists, all that stuff. And I've come up with two books, two stories, novellas that I have not read yet. And that is A Nameless City. I think it's got something to do with the longer novella, The Mountains of Madness, which I didn't like as much as a lot of his other stories. But this is shorter, so maybe I'll enjoy it more. And then I'm going to reread The Whisperer in Darkness. And I also recommend, and that's from 1930, I also recommend The Color Out of Space and The Haunter of the Dark. There's a lot of excellent novellas out there that are just terrifying and just signature H.P. Lovecraft. I think you'll enjoy him if you haven't tried him before. And yeah, so that's it. For the 1950s, I've got Roald Dahl, Completely Unexpected Tales. And this is made up of a collection from Tales of the Unexpected, more Tales of the Unexpected. And yeah, there's some gems in here. And Roald Dahl is an expert with his adult fiction, with a kind of short story that's got a sting at the end of its tail. So it's kind of light horror. And if you're not a huge horror fan, maybe it's a good idea to read this to join into the event. Something like this. And yeah, I've got here The Landlady, which is a good one. Lamb to the Slaughter. And Genesis and Catastrophe. Yeah, read those three. I recommend them. They're darker than a lot of his other work. So, leaning more towards the horror side. So yeah, that is Roald Dahl, Completely Unexpected Tales. Okay, we're into the 60s. And I've got Harlan Ellison Greatest Hits on Kindle. And yeah, I've read I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. And it's freaking terrifying, people. I highly recommend it. A short story that will leave you gasping for air. And yeah, most of his stories are more lean towards kind of science fiction and horror. But I'm sure there's a lot of overlap, like there is in the story I've just mentioned. Now, two that caught my eye, it's just for the name and nothing else, is The Beast That Shouted Love at the World. That was 1968. And then The Death Bird. And I looked up at the little blurb for each one, and I can't remember, people, that's not what this video is about, but I'm sure that I'm going to enjoy it. They sound kind of creepy and way out there and very weird, sci-fi horror kind of thing. Yeah. More 60s, I've gone with the fifth Pan Book of Horrors, and I showed this cover as well, the 19 Pan Book of Horrors, in my announcement video, but I decided to go for the first one, 1960s. And I've got enough of the rest. So yeah, I'm going to dip my toes into this. I have not heard of these authors. I think they just put in their work. If they accept it, they accept it. A little bit like Garbology. You know, that thing for Garb August, where you just put in your story and see if it gets accepted. So yeah, I think that's that. But this is actually quite famous. A long-running series. And so I'm looking to dip into this. I don't know if I'm going to read the whole book. I haven't chosen any stories yet because I don't know the authors or anything about the stories. But I'm definitely going to dip into Pan Book of Horrors. Yeah. Okay, moving on to the 1970s. And I've got four kind of novella length books here, 200 to 250 pages. And the first one is, Lair. Now this is a sequel to The Rats. Awesome animal attack book, super terrifying, super gory, horrifying, and kind of gross at moments. It has some very gross moments. And I'm looking forward to reading Lair, because I'm going to be doing it with John from DisquietandDragons and on his Discord, which I'll link below as well. Yeah. And another animal attack book from the 70s, we got Locusts. And yeah, you get what you see for this book. Kind of locusts that are running rampage in the countryside and killing animals, so be warned, and people, and just, yeah, kind of a vicious, fun little book. A winged nightmare of terror. So yeah, locusts. And I wanted to look for something else that is also 70s. I don't know, Peter Straub is very 70s. Most of his books are a bit longer. This one comes in at just under 250 pages, and that's Full Circle by Peter Straub. That's a recommendation. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars. It wasn't brilliant, but I found it very, very creepy. And I think it also used to be called Julia, and I think there was a film made about it. I'm not sure. If you know, let me know down below. But yeah, so that's Peter Straub, Full Circle. Okay, so now we move into possibly my favorite decade of horror. That's the 80s. Although the 70s was awesome, yeah, I don't know, maybe in terms of novels, maybe the 70s But in terms of short stories, from what I've experienced and what I've read, I love the 80s. And there's one collection that I adore, and I've read cover to cover, and I've read some of the stories numerous times, people. I love this. And that is Dark Forces. Now, yeah, I'm going to be rereading the following stories. Highly, highly recommend. The Late Shift by Dennis Etchison. Yeah, a short story, but man, it kicks a punch. And then we've got Children of the Kingdom by T.E.D. Klein. Klein. I've got a novel, but I can't remember what the name is, but definitely going to get to it sooner or later. But Children of the Kingdom is a fantastic short story. You really should get there, read it. And then also Where the Stones Grow by Liza Tuttle, and Traps by Gahan Wilson. Now that's quite a lot of stories, but they're short stories. I'm putting out short stories here. Might not get to every one of them, but yeah, I want to reread a lot of this book. I love this book, right? And then also we've got Books of Blood. Now this volume 4 to 6. I don't have volume 1 to 3 anymore, but I do have a separate like volume 1 and volume 3. But yeah, I want to read 2 stories in particular, and one is Dread. Remember this? Horror Mayhem, Decades of Dread. And the second one is, I think it's The Life of Death. Yes, and I think that's in volume 6. I have both very chilling, hectic stories, people. Especially Dread. But you think it is a terrifying clown story? Read Dread. I dare you. The ending is just insane. But yeah, so that's Clive Barker, Books of Blood. But I recommend this any person that loves horror. But boy, it gets pretty dark and it gets pretty bloody. But this is just, yeah, one of my favorite authors, Books of Blood. Okay, now we move on to the 1990s. It's a pretty decent decade of horror. And yeah, I'm going with Stephen King, Nightmares and Dreamscapes. This came out in 1990. Can't remember, maybe 7. I don't care. It came out in the 1990s. And it's awesome, people. I could have chosen Night Shift for the 70s. I could have chosen Skeleton Crew for the 80s. But yeah, I'm going with this collection. I didn't want to just mention Stephen King during the whole video. And this is awesome. And there's 2 stories in here that I really love. But it's actually a lot of stories in here. And it's just so varied. This collection is a bit like a licorice, all sorts. There's all sorts of different feels about the stories. But Crouch End is awesome. I'm going to reread that. And I'm also going to read You Know They Got One Hell of a Band. Now, it's a story I've reread a number of times. Really enjoy it. If you love your rock music, yeah, that's all I'm going to say. And there was a TV series. There was short movies made based on some of the stories Stephen King has done. I think from this collection. Not sure where I got that information. But yeah, just check it out. Maybe you can find it on the internet. You Know They Got One Hell of a Band. And there we go. Nightmares and Dreamscapes. Okay, another horror novella that I really want to read in the month of May is Zombie by Joyce Carol Oates. Yeah, I've been wanting to get my hands on this for a long time, and this was a gift from my wife. And yeah, and the font's kind of big, and I think it's about 180 pages. Yeah, so it should be okay. But yeah, I've been wanting to read this book. I've heard different reviews, but I'll make my own mind up about the serial killer. And I think you in his head. That's all I know about it. And then also what I mentioned in the last video is Ramsey Campbell, Tales of Sex and Death, Scared Stiff. I want to just, it's an introduction by Clive Barker. It's one of my favourite authors. And it says here, Dolls, the other woman, the seductress, from salacious witches' covens to voodoo love dolls. Here are 7 tales of sex and death to leave you drained through one spasm of fright after another. Ramsey Campbell once again takes the horror genre into new and disturbing territory. Yeah, That sounds spasm. Okay, yeah, let's just say that. Need go no further than that. Okay everyone, finally we're moving into the 2000s. Now, I haven't picked anything to read from the 2000s, but I was going to give you two examples of great horror novellas. One kind of extreme, well, both of them are kind of dark. And the first one is Sour Candy from Keelan Patrick Burke. Awesome author, and yeah, very weird, very messed up, goes to very dark places. And the second one is Gone to See the River Man by Christopher Triana. If you feel like something a little bit more extreme, although in my mind it's kind of a stepping stone between horror and more extreme horror, splatterpunk. Never know the difference. Maybe you can tell me down in the space below. But anyway, those are my two novellas that I'm going to recommend, and I'm going to leave it there. And yeah, please let me know down in the comments below what you thought of this video. Didn't really talk about the books today, or the stories, but that's okay. It's just throwing everything out there. And I hope you enjoyed yourselves, and I really hope you take care of yourselves, and remember to keep those pages turning. And cheers.